Could you briefly describe your composite breeding program in the company from the original concept through the new developments in terms of 38% content?
Okay, well I suppose 10 or 15 years ago when this all first started, AA Company had straight lines of straight-bred cattle of Santa Gertrudis and Brahman, and at the time they could see going forward that vertically integrated companies that feedlot their beef, slaughter their beef and market it was the way of the future. MSA had just come on the scene, and at that time there was the testing they had done, they were a little bit prejudiced towards Bos Indicus, and to get cattle to grade, MSA had to be less than 50%. So the direction was taken to introduce some tropically bred cattle into our northern herds to try and give us the meat quality of the southern herds in Australia. Originally they started with Red Angus and Charolais being bred to the Brahmins to give us what we call a CBX and an RBX. Those two crossbred animals were bred together to produce a Beefex composite. The Beefex then was crossed to the Centerpole, which gave us a 50% Centerpole, 25% Charolais and 25% Brahman, what we call our Gulf composite. The actual Beefex cross composite is 50% Centerpole, 25% Brahman, 12.5% Charolais and 12.5% Red Angus. But for simplicity, we just call them 25% Charolais. And you will notice on some of the cattle when you see them, you'll see a bit of tiger stripe in them. That's the Red Angus influence coming out of them. I suppose the reasons that we used, we went into crossbreeding or making the composites was, as I said before, was to get southern meat quality into our northern herds, and we did this via the tropically adapted breeds. Our goals were to improve our fertility, improve growth rates through hybrid vigour and heterosis, and to make a more MSA and feedlot friendly animal. I suppose with the advantages that come with that, there were some disadvantages, and for us being a big company that's vertically integrated, these aren't negatives for us, but if you were a smaller producer marketing your cattle through sale yards or not direct to abattoir, these could be some disadvantages in that the variation that you'll get in coat colour. The other disadvantage might be in the maturity patterns of the cattle. We see big ranges, especially in the early stages of our composites, of really early maturing animals right through to the later maturing animals. As we go forward and we put some more selection criteria on the bulls and the replacements we keep, we will eventually breed that variation out of them.
With the original design of your composites, what's been the kind of meat quality results you've seen through your breeding to date?
Okay, well, breeding to date, we market our composite beef through our 1824 brand. That we feed the majority of those cattle at Gnu feedlot in central Queensland, slaughter the cattle through Valley Beef at Grantham. The cattle are all MSA graded, and I think to date we are running around about 96 to 98% MSA compliance. Some cattle that have been fed through Aranui and marketed through Woolworths, we've had anywhere from sort of 94 through to 99% MSA compliance. Interesting enough, one particular group of Gulf composite heifers, being the 50%ers, were fed for 75 days at Aranui, 98% compliance to MSA.
So high quality?
Yeah, like we had, I think, like 30 or 40% of them do 1.5 marble score or better.
Have you found the composite adapting to tropical environments?
Yeah, no dramas. We've, again, it's only been going for 5 years, but in terms of adaptation, we've had no major dramas. A bit of fly. We see a bit of fly on the composite that we don't see on the more Brahminy cattle. But to date, we've no issues with adaptation.
Since the original concept, you've made some modifications both for the Barkley Tablelands and a Gulf composite with 38% content. Can you comment on these?
As I said before, the 50% centre pole composite basically went over our higher content Brahman females to get our Bos indicus below 50%. We know for in that Gulf region, for fly and insects and the heat, that we need to have a female running around that 50% Bos indicus. So we've actually made another composite, which is 50% Brahman, 25% Charolais and 25% centre pole. Using the centre pole Charolais female and putting a Brahman bull over it gives us that composite. The other composite that we're working with is the Charbray female and putting the 50% centre pole composite back over it to give us a 38% Brahman, 38% Charolais and a 25% centre pole. And that particular animal, we've got 3 drops of calves on the ground now, and they're looking very promising.
What are you doing in the Barkey?
In the Barkley, we've obviously got lots of straight sanders up there. So it's the Charolais centre pole bull put over the sander cow, which gives us what we call a BC or a Barkley composite, which is 50% Santa, 25% Charolais, 25% centre pole.
What's your findings from that cross? How's that going?
Yeah, it's going very well. It's not probably as advanced as the Gulf composite.
In numbers?
In numbers, yeah. We've certainly got progeny going through the feedlot now, and we've got weaning weights and preg test rates coming in. So by the time this goes to air, hopefully I'll be able to give you some data on that. But preliminary numbers are looking that weaning weights will be up and preg test rates will be up.
Why were the original breeds that make up the composite chosen?
Well, the Charolais was obviously picked for growth. The Red Angus was picked for meat quality, and the centre pole was picked for tropical adaptation. Tropical adaptation. They were the three main breeds used in the composite.
Can you tell us a little about the centre poles, where the breed originated?
The centre poles that were selected originated from the Virgin Islands. We've also got some genetics out of Florida.
What was the main attributes of the centre pole that you saw as attractive to the composite?
The attraction of the centre pole was its tropical adaptation, the slick hair gene, and its ability to live in hot and humid climates, and also to bring with it some meat quality aspects.
What about tick resistance in the centre pole?
Yeah, on the Virgin Islands, where they originated from, part of the island has quite a lot of tick, and that was another reason for its insect resistance.